It's December 1st, 2025. Well, in Michigan, it's cold and snowy. I couldn't tell you what's going on the West Coast. We'll get that from Nick in a second. But regardless of all that, that also means it's time for the Knee Jerks podcast with Eno, Nick, and Big Al. I'm the Big Al, the Equation Al Beaton, longtime Detroit-based. I guess now I'm pretty much just a podcaster or a digital creator, as like Facebook likes to call me. But as always, joining me are my two co-hosts who are very in the loop when it comes to social media. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to social media this week. First off, our West Coast correspondent, Nick Milanovich. Nick, what's it like out there on the West Coast in Seattle?
Well, thank God there's no snow out here. So it's probably in the 50s during the day, rainy some days, sunny other days. It's not bad, to be honest. And I don't mind the rain and the gray because that means everything stays green. So
yeah, it's nothing but it's all gray here. Yeah, it's all gray. Well, other than the white, it's all. But yeah, at least where I'm at, because I'm still up in Traverse City area. So I've got about 10 inches of snow up here. But also down in Southeast Michigan is my longtime partner in this podcast, the man who knows a lot of things about a lot of things. That would be Greg Eno of the Greg Eno Substack. He had a very interesting column today, which we will talk about. Greg, what's the weather forecast in Southeast Michigan? Because I'll be back there in a couple of days.
You know, you're not going to really do much better down here, Al. It's in the 30s, 20s and 30s, I think, most of the week. Lows barely in the double digits at night. It's cold. It's cold, but it is Michigan in December. What are you gonna do? I am Greg Eno from my Greg Eno Substack, gregeno.substack.com. Please subscribe. I would appreciate that. I'll come into your inbox every Monday. As Al mentioned, today's piece was about the debacle that was the rumored death. Thank God, just a rumored death of Lem Barney. We'll talk about how that got out of control, but that was the gist of my piece today. Was about how it did get out of control and how once legitimate sources went bad on it, including the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that was today's piece. gregeno.substack.com. Follow me on Twitter at Greg Eno, and follow the Knee Jerks on Twitter /X at the Knee Jerks. No guest tonight. If you're watching this podcast, you can see it's just the three of us, but that's okay because we've been not with you since November the 3rd or 4th or something like that when we had City Hall on.
Yeah, I was in Florida.
A lot of things have happened just last week, in the last several days, let alone the last month. So we'll get into that. But before we get into all that stuff, we're going to play a game we like to call Whose Birthday Is It, Maestro? Everybody knows how we play this game by now. I'll give Al and Nick a clue or two or three of an individual whose birthday it is today in the world of sports. And if one of those two gentlemen can correctly guess that person within the first two clues, he will receive a case of Bazooka Joe bubblegum. Bazooka
Joe. Oh, yeah. Can't wait to get to the comics.
That's right, the comics. That's right. Remember, I think that there used to be if you mailed in like X amount of comics.
Yep.
After them, you'd get some sort of toy or prize or something.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. This person made his name in the world of baseball. He was born on this date in 1948, so he's 77 years old today. He was once in the mid to late 70s one of the most feared hitters in all of baseball. He played predominantly in the National League. Was practically stolen from the Giants by the team that acquired him. The team that he led to 2 world championships, and I will stop there.
George Foster?
George Foster, you got it. Yep. George Foster. Yeah. You know, Al, that the Reds got George Foster from the Giants for Frank Duffy and a pitcher named Vern Geichert. That was the trade.
You're making those names up.
No. May 29th, 1971. He got traded from the Giants to the Reds for that return. It's got to be one of the worst trades the Giants have ever made.
Yep.
They also traded Dave Kingman, too, the Giants did right around that time. So I don't know what they were thinking about. But anyway, although Foster was way better than Kingman was.
He hit 50 dingers when 50 home runs meant something.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure. He had 52 in 1977. I remember watching the 77 All-Star game in New York. And I wasn't in New York. The game was in New York. And I remember they bring the stats up when the guys came to the plate. And George Foster's stat line at the All-Star break looked like somebody's stat line at the end of the year. It was like 32 home runs and 83 RBI at the All-Star break. I'm like, what? He was unbelievable. Then he kind of tailed off. Kind of went to the Mets in '82, and then just kind of fell off the map. He was still a good player, but he was one of those guys that just once he hit like early 30s, it just kind of all fell apart on him. But for a while there, in his prime, there was no one more feared than George Foster. Believe me. So good luck.
So when do I get the gum? When do I get the gum?
Yeah, well, it's going to take a while. It's going to be really cold when you get it. Let the gum come to room temperature, or else you'll crack your teeth.
Oh, there exactly. All right. With that, like I said, we don't really have a set script, so to speak, or a show notes per se. We're just kind of winging it as of late. It seems to be working pretty well because honestly, what we discuss on this podcast is essentially what we text each other during the week anyway. But it also gives us kind of a chance to have kind of a discussion. We just go where it takes us. And one hot topic of the discussion was obviously what Greg wrote about today was the fake death, the fake news release or the incorrect news release, or the not vetted news release that Lem Barney, the great Lions Hall of Fame cornerback, had passed away. So I'm going to give this to you, Greg, because you wrote a lot about this and you followed up on a lot of this. Some people did some research and were able to dig it out, like Dave Burkett. Other people just ran with it,
right?
And and as what usually happens with these things, nobody sees the retraction. They only see the original lie, so to speak. So I'll just throw this in your lap and let you go to town because you had a great column today.
Well, thanks. It's unfortunately this one hit home for me and for us, I think, on this podcast because it's, of course, a former Lion, but it's not. Lem wasn't the only one who's been the victim of this. I don't know what you call it. I wouldn't even call it a prank. I don't know what you call it. But there's been a number of phony obituaries, and so far lately, they've all been NFL players, former NFL players, fake obituaries of players that, of course, are still alive. Joe Green's obituary has been floating around Facebook and other places for several weeks now. One of you guys shared with me Steve Tasker, the old Buffalo Bills special teams guy, was reported to have passed away. Art Monk, the great Hall of Fame receiver. And of course now Lem. And so this one was unlike those other ones that I mentioned, though. Those didn't really get a lot of traction beyond social media, beyond the social media platforms on which they were posted. This one, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, because Joe Green, they're all Hall of Famers. I'm not sure about Tasker, but these are all big name guys. Right. For whatever reason, the Lem Barney one really took off, and I don't know why. It started out as the usual, seemingly harmless, albeit stupid, ridiculous meme on social media that just unfortunately did not die. It kept going and growing until legitimate news sources like NBC Sports, Yahoo Sports, the Pro Football Hall of Fame official website and WXYZ Channel 7 in Detroit's website ran with it with no confirmation at all. And you mentioned Dave Burkett, the writer for the Free Press. Thank goodness did his due diligence, reached out to Lem's family like everybody else should have done. It was even reported on TMZ, but the retraction was on TMZ. I'll get to that in a second. So Dave reached out to the Lem Barney family and who said, he's not dead, and we've got a confirmation of that. And they posted, they gave Dave a selfie of Lem, in the whole 9 yards with his nurse, and it just was very untoward. And I reached out to while this was all going on, when I was mostly sure this was not true, but still, I reached out to Ray Scott, our good friend Ray Scott, who is friends with Lem. And Ray says, well, Lem, Dave Bing and Lem are like this. And I think Lem has been staying with Dave Bing, quite frankly. And so Ray said, let me talk to Dave. So he reached out to Dave Bing, and Dave Bing said, no, that Lem's not passed away. So that's when I knew that this was a bunch of baloney. But the thing that got me was when I was fighting a losing battle, and I felt like I was fighting a losing battle on social media. I was trying to say it's not real. Then the Pro Football Hall of Fame came out on their official website and did a statement. Not just a statement, but an obituary, a legitimate obituary, taking us through his college career at Jackson State, his NFL career. It was a legitimate obituary, not just like a statement. It was an obituary. And that's when my friends on Facebook started to push back on me and say, "No, Greg, he's dead." And I said, "No, he's not." So I started to get upset about that. And and then the family came out. Lem's family came out with a statement that thank God got some traction. Burkett, thank God for Dave Burkett. His was the one that really, I think, sealed the deal. But the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which, as I said in my piece today, should never be taken seriously ever again, ran with it without any confirmation. They did run a retraction that was kind of milquetoast. They cited conflicting reports, which is a very ridiculous way to portray this. There's nothing conflicting about saying a guy's dead and his family saying not. That's not conflicting reports. That's just bad information. It wasn't like there was a bunch of media saying he's alive and a bunch of media saying he's dead. Everybody was saying he's dead. The family were the only ones for a while that were saying he was alive. That's not conflicting reports. That's evil. So, but who did do a really good retraction, by the way, is Jeff Risdon, who runs a thing called Lions Wire, which is I think it's affiliated with USA Today.
Yeah, it is correct.
Risdon took complete ownership of it, and whether it was his fault or not, he said, "Look, I'm the managing editor." I included the apology in my piece. It was very well said. He took complete ownership, complete mea culpa. Didn't blame anyone. Didn't cite any sort of conflicting reports. And he apologized to the family. He apologized to Lem. He apologized to the Lions organization. It was a really well done apology. I was really proud of him, and he was about the only one who really took it to that level. Everybody else, to your point, Al, just kind of when these things happen, they just kind of wipe their hands clean and move on to the next thing. And I think what bothered me about it was it just further crystallizes to me that good old fashioned journalism is just on its way out. Everybody is wanting to just glob onto these sensationalistic rumors, or it's not even a rumor. That's not it. And that's the other thing. It's not even like it was a rumor that he died. It wasn't even that to me. That's not a rumor. Posting a meme, somebody who's dead, when there's absolutely zero indication that he is dead, that's not a rumor. That's a rumor is when there's some legitimate, somebody's been in an accident, there's something's happened where maybe he did pass away or he's very ill. But when you just make something up, that's not a rumor. That's just, I don't know what that is. I don't know what people get out of this. I really don't. And then seeing all these, and these are well-meaning people. All the people that were commenting on these posts, they don't know any better. So they're saying rest in peace. This is so sad. I remember Lem when I was a child and all. And they mean well. They don't know that it's not fake at the time. But it just makes me crazy because I know that it's not real. And there were a few smatterings of people that were saying, has this been confirmed? He's not dead, blah, blah, blah. It was upsetting. And I know I know Lem is not in the greatest of health. He's 80, turned 80 a few months ago. So it's got to be really hurtful for his family to have to go through this on Thanksgiving weekend, put out some statement saying that he's okay. It's just, the whole thing is just, and I don't know, like I said, I don't know why this particular one got the traction that it did, unlike the Joe Green, Steve Tasker, or Art Monk ones, which were just as serious. But for some reason, this one just got traction. I don't know why.
Yeah, and it's not just this. Like I know Nick has brought this up, like the NBA. In the NBA, it's not so much this or basketball in general. It's either weird fake trades or fake quotes that I've seen come up. And it's running rampant. Only thing I can guess is that obviously on Twitter, if you have a blue check, you get monetized for interaction, and how I had no idea how exactly they make money. It's not much, but the more interaction your tweets get, you will get more pennies from Twitter, apparently, if you have a blue check. Facebook has absolutely no moderation at all anymore for the most part.
Right.
And this stuff gets really spread badly on Facebook. Like the example I told you guys before the show was my mother's husband. He's in his early 70s. He spends a lot of time on Facebook. I don't want to go into his politics, but we don't agree on those. So he spends a lot of time on that kind of stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw him when I came back from Florida, he goes, Al, I heard they're replaying the Lions-Eagles game because there was a bad call by a referee, and the NFL said they have to replay the game. I'm like, where in the hell did you hear this? I tried to be very gentle.
Right.
I didn't want to make him feel like he was stupid or anything.
Right.
Because he was legit fooled by this.
Right.
And it was just something he saw on Facebook that was completely fabricated. I just said, no, that I don't know where you heard this, but that's not true. The game's final, the score's final. And even if there was a mistake, all the NFL would do was say, we're sorry. That's it. That doesn't happen. And so he was okay with that because I tried to handle it as best I could. But that seems to happen constantly on social media anymore. I don't know what can be done about it at this point.
I'll add to that when you said it was, when I think it was the Lem Barney thing when that one came out and the three of us were discussing this. My first question is it on like Facebook or something? Is it one of the meta platforms?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And because what I noticed is sometimes I pop onto Threads, which is kind of Meta's version of Twitter.
Yeah.
And it's easy to jump on from Instagram onto Threads.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do much other than scroll through, but I see a lot of sports postings there.
Yeah.
And it's from accounts that like, who the hell is this person kind of thing. It's not even something credible. Sometimes I'll see like Yahoo Sports, but a lot of times it's a very uncredible source and it's lots of rampant rumors. That's where I saw Mean Joe Green dying. Yeah. That's where I saw Art Monk dying thing. It's like, is this real? And I have a feeling it's partially a meta thing where everything's fair game. Every stupid shit thing you can possibly post is fair game. But the odd thing here was, I can understand some random person posting something dumb for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes back to like who posted this thing about Lem Barney, which was the real odd one. And so the source of that is the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which I'm going to reemphasize, you would have thought would be a credible source.
Right.
But where the fuck did they get that information from?
You would expect them to vet it.
You would think so. It's like, confirm this, please. Like, where did you see it on was some intern on social media and decided to post this shit?
Mm-hmm.
All they had to do was just reach out to the Lions themselves. And thank God the Lions did not, for some weird reason, fall into this trap either, by the way. This would have been so much worse if the Lions came out with some sort of that would have made them look like that would have overruled everything. That would have made them look worst of all. So thank God they didn't do anything like that. I mean, Nick's right about that we were asking that question as well before the show. It's like, where did the Pro Football Hall of Fame get off doing this? And I mentioned TMZ. TMZ, which as most of you know, is more of an entertainment, celebrity-based thing. Even they ran a retract. They didn't run a retraction. They ran a story about the retraction, basically saying, that Hall of Fame football player Lem Barney was reported have passed away, but he's not. TMZ is telling you that he's not. And you can say what you will about TMZ, but they're pretty accurate about a lot of their things. Somebody just kind of brushed them off as being some gossipy thing, but they did the right thing here. They came out and said, no, hey, no. And then all the retractions started pouring in. But to Al's point, yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people on those that posted those rest in peace comments. As we're sitting here talking here, a day and a half later, still think he's passed away.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing about TMZ. They tend to have a pretty good reputation when it comes to news.
Right.
When it comes to reporting deaths or, whatever happens in celebrities and things like that. Mm-hmm. And for them to screw it up, or at least get involved with this, that says volumes. Because they're usually really good about really vetting that someone has passed away or whatever. But yeah, it's social media in general has just become, it's given too many people an outsized voice. And a lot of people tend, if they see it online, for some reason, some random name with a bunch of numbers after it seems to often have the same amount of weight as a legit beat writer when it comes to whatever is being posted on social media. And too many people have lost media literacy when it comes to this stuff, or they don't follow up on things. They see it and that's it. And you're right. It does. A lot of this does come with journalists failing at this sort of stuff. This has been going on with them for years, where it's just a race to the bottom when it comes to newspapers and online news sources and things like that. But the people on social media have to take some responsibility for this as well, for just believing everything they fucking see.
Well, here's the thing. You mentioned you made a good comment at the top of the discussion, Al, about moderating, or the lack thereof, or maybe Nick said
the lack of it. Yeah.
And where I've been seeing this stuff are in these, like I'm belong to a lot of these NFL groups on Facebook, just like harmless groups, NFL in the 1960s, or NFL from pro football from 1960 to 1980, whatever the case be. It's just for a bunch of old timers like me and you, who just like to people will share videos or old pictures or whatever. It's a harmless, fun little group. And that's where I'm seeing these things. People getting away with posting this. I don't know where the moderators are. I don't know if the posts that people make have to go through any sort of moderation. It seems like any post like that does have to go through any sort of moderation would be flagged. It would never see the light of day. So it tells me that these posts on these harmless little groups that I'm involved in aren't being moderated whatsoever. Now, Nick would know. There's a reporter, an NBA guy, predominantly NBA guy, Shams Charania. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the last name correctly. Anyway, as Nick probably knows, there's a parody account on Twitter that slightly mangles Shams's name. It's a parody of Shams's account, essentially. And I know there's one for Ken Rosenthal, and there's one for some other people. And those kind of accounts will post, not deaths necessarily, but they'll post trade rumors, not just rumors. They'll post news of trades and things like that. And then if you don't notice right away that it's Shams's parody account, you're liable to fall into the trap of it being real.
Funny you should mention that one. It's like I do follow the actual Sham, and I think the parody account is something like Scam Charnia or something like that. Right. I can't remember what it is. They play, but it's really subtle in his name.
Right. Yes.
And they
use his picture too, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, they probably
a few days ago I saw that. And then, but all the trade rumors that one posts, I mean, some of them can be pretty absurd. You're like, what the fuck is this? And then you realize, okay, this is a parody account.
Right.
But there's a fine line in there, and like people start reacting to this,
right? Like
it's real, and it's like, guys, like that makes no sense.
Right.
So yeah, I know those, and there's a lot of that stuff going on. And on top of that, there's all nonstop rumors about like Anthony Davis getting traded,
right?
And that's just.
Wasn't there stuff about Davis to the Pistons? I saw a few.
The Pistons traded away, according to social media. The Pistons traded for like half of what's, on everybody on the IR in the Mavericks roster. I don't know how else to put it. Kyrie Irving, they had Davis, they had somebody else to it. I can't remember who the hell it was, but right in the middle of a win streak, right? So
it's just, you know what, guys? I wonder if it's just if the people who do this kind of stuff, I wonder if they're similar to arsonists in that they just like to see the destruction, they like to see the chaos happen. They just
do it for the lows, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly. I don't know that there's any other explanation other than to just set fire to the internet for a little while and watch it burn.
I mean,
I'll just throw this in there as well. Like when you're talking about these these parody accounts or fake accounts. Like another one I would bring up is there's the legit one, NBA Central, and then there's another one called NBA Centel. And that gets confused all the time. But the problem is, I believe they both have blue checks. And blue checks on Twitter used to mean something.
Right.
Because back in the day, the only people that had blue checks were vetted.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they were usually either journalists or celebrities, and they were vetted by Twitter. And then now you spend your $8 a month, you get a blue check, and all of a sudden you can look just as vetted as a beat writer.
That's true.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh man. Anyway, so that was that. And I don't want to dwell on it because it's disturbing, but I this won't be the last time we see something like this happen, unfortunately.
I'm going to be cynical with the Detroit Lions organization and say, even if Lem Barney did actually pass away, they may be dickish enough not to say anything, considering they said nothing about Joe Schmidt.
They said next to nothing about Joe Schmidt. It was a very perfunctory, the least amount they could have said about him. They said they didn't, and they did nothing else. No patches, no stickers, no 56 on the field, nothing. And Joe died during the season last year, during the football season. Yeah. So there was no excuse that he died in May, and he died in the middle of the football season. And I see other teams where stickers and patches, and then not just football, all sports, of guys who passed away from the organization. It doesn't have to be a player; it could be even a broadcaster. I remember the Tigers one time did an Ernie Harwell thing. I thought they did anyway on their jerseys. When Sparky passed away, they did a patch. The Lions, for whatever reason, they've been really bad at honoring their history, and I don't know why. They've done it. I mean, they have their Ring of Honor. I get it, but when it comes to stuff like that, like people passing away and pissing off their heroes like Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders, it's just odd to me. So I'm not quite as cynical as Nick about that. They wouldn't say anything, but they would just probably do the bare minimum.
It's like Russ Thomas is still in the background there somewhere.
Yeah, right. I still wear the stupid WCF on everything.
That's the one that gets me. Like I said, all the other great Lions, like I said, Joe Schmidt would have been a great one for that. Hall of Famer. Yeah. Probably their best coach, in a long list of coaches they've had, he's top 5 at least of the best coaches they've ever had, for example. And he was high up on the win list as well. And like you said, they really half-assed with what they did, with any kind of honor they did with him.
But don't forget they gave his number away when they signed
Pat Swilling. Pat Swilling, yeah. And that was a whole shit show as well.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We're not that far removed from 60 years of same old Lions.
Right.
It's like you had this dry spell for so long, for like 60 years. And how many great players have you had? Quite honestly, not that many. I mean, some of them were like top notch, like Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, a few others, Lem Barney. But, those guys came in. Those guys were a rare breed with the Lions. They just don't have that many in their recent history. You have to go really far back.
Oh, don't forget when they gave T.J. Hawkinson Charlie Sanders' 88, and T.J. was a rookie. Remember that one? Because Hawkinson wore it in Iowa, so he wanted to wear it. And nobody in the Lions said to him, "Sorry, son." And the Charlie Sanders family was upset by that, by the way. They were. Nobody consulted them. Nobody asked them. Charlie had passed away by that time, of course. Nobody asked them what they thought. And the only number, oddly, that they've really kind of, and they finally got away from it. For the longest time that they didn't let anybody wear was Chuck Hughes' number, 85.
Right.
Which is ironic because Chuck was not a star by any stretch of the imagination. But, of course, he was a tragic, situation. They finally started letting guys wear 85 the last, 5, 6, 7 years. And I think that might have been with the Hughes family permission. But the Charlie Sanders thing with Hawkinson, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it. Here's a rookie Hasn't played one game in the NFL. He won. At least Swilling had been a star in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Hawkinson hadn't played a game, and the Lions, yeah, go ahead. You can wear 88, son. No problem. Like, what are you kidding me? I don't know what I don't know what it is about the Lions and honoring their history. It's just a lot of this stuff, Al, and you've mentioned in the past. A lot of it, the common denominator is Rod Wood in a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't understand that either, because I don't know why he would be tone deaf, but he seems to be kind of the common thread through a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff has to go through Rod Wood.
Yeah, he seems to be he's kind of taken that he's that old school connection to the WCF era more than anything. Yeah, he's the one guy left that has any kind of power in that organization, well, other than Sheila. But he's the one guy I think that still has that 1 foot in the old era with WCF. And it kind of shows with how some of the stuff they do when it comes to honoring their history.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's legit history that does deserve to be honored, as bad as they've been.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have all that many great players, you honor the ones you do have.
Yeah.
And, why not? I mean, they played for you. Schmidt didn't play for anybody else. Barney didn't play for anybody else.
Right.
Barry, Charlie Sanders, Calvin Johnson. It's like you got to honor them just for being gluttons for punishment, like everything else.
My! But this last week kind of exacerbated a lot of this stuff with social media because of what's going on with the Lions. I mean, they are having I won't say that they're having a bad year. They are 7-5, but they are having, I would say, a disappointing year. Yeah. Or, I mean, the season's not over as much as you would not believe hearing from a lot of people on social media say, "Oh, the season's over, tank." Right. I'm on Ross hurt, keep him out for the rest of the year. What? They're 7-5. If you look at, they're literally a game and a half out of first place in the division, and they're in the wild card hunt or game out, if that. So it's too early for any of that stuff, even though they are having a lot of combination of. Well, let's start with this though. Obviously they lost on Thanksgiving, and it was fairly decisive victory by the Packers. But going into this year, especially after coming off a 15-2 year, and they've been literally on an up for the last 3 seasons, skyrocketing up, and they were bound to have. They could. There's no way they could have replicated last year. 15 wins rarely happens for one thing.
Right.
And then they lost both coordinators. They lost their starting center, which we'll talk about what happened with that this week as well. They lost their Pro Bowl guard. Well, the Pro Bowl center retired. The Pro Bowl guard wanted to play closer to home in Zeitler, so he went to Tennessee. And now we have injuries. Amon Ra's out for a couple games at least. Sam Laporta looks like he's out for the season with a back injury. Terry Arnold looks like he might be out for the season now with a shoulder injury because I believe he's having surgery. Kirby Joseph is battling a knee problem. It's been, and there's more than that. It's been one thing after another. And then they have some guys who are very talented who are coming off major injuries and haven't been as effective as they were before the injuries in Hutchinson and McNeil, for example. They were bound to. They're probably going to win double-digit games, which is great for the Lions, but it might not be enough to get into the playoffs this year. But to think that this is a bad team having a bad year is absolute hyperbole. This is a good team having a bit of a down year because of injuries, a tougher schedule, and because of all the brain drain they had in their coaching staff. Because not just the coordinators they lost. They lost a lot of position coaches as well, who went with either Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson. So there was a lot of upheaval with the Lions coaching staff and on the roster this year. It's not surprising they're having a down year. I just think, it's just that, you would think they would be playing a little bit better, but it really goes to show that they've having some issues in the trenches this year specifically. Again, there's more injuries, and they've lost one of their guards. They're playing They didn't have Ryan Glasgow last game. They have another backup guard in for Mahogany. So I really don't know where to go with the Lions at this point. I mean, they could still win. They're going to win. They're probably going to win at least 10 games. Odds are, but to think that it's time to start. If you look at social media, guys, especially like on Reddit. We've talked. Greg and I were talking about Reddit before the show. You're starting to see stuff like hot seat, or Brad Holmes isn't as smart as he thinks he is, or how come the fans knew better than he knew, or Dan Campbell, I don't know about him now. It's like the knee-jerk reactions, pun intended, is becoming, I don't know. Again, it really comes down to social media. I think how we see social media reacting to the Lions is exacerbating how people feel about this season. If you know where I'm going with this.
Well, go ahead. I think social media only kind of gives voice to the voices that have always been around, but we've never seen.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wish we never would have seen this because fans are all over the place on these things. It's like either you win every game or hang the coach or fire the front office, or there's a lot of that stuff. I mean, I think I saw the first comments about what's it called? Oh, the Lions should tank to get a better draft pick, like already 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I think like right after the Eagles game, so they should just tank this year. And of course you get fire coach things, you get blame this coordinator, fire Johnny Morton. It was bound to be where the Lions hit a wall.
Yeah,
like last year is not this year. Next year is not going to be this year either. It's like every year is very different. And just because, they seem to have been going up like 3 or 4 years in a row, it doesn't mean, okay, next year we're going to be even a step closer to the Super Bowl. And then, or after that, we're going to be closer yet and win it. And then next year we're going to repeat because we have this great offense. It's usually because of the offense that they were talking about. They did change coordinators. They lost a lot of personnel. People got hurt. Plus, the Lions have been running the same offense now 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Teams catch up.
Yeah.
You're only going to be a genius with your scheme for a couple seasons before, a lot of resources are put in by your opponents to figure out your scheme.
Well, you look at the Lions the last 4 years. The 4 years that Dan Campbell, the first 4 years of Campbell, he went from 3 wins to 9 to 12 to 15. That kind of improvement is almost unheard of in the NFL.
Yeah,
to consistently increase your win total, and so to Nick's point, yes, they were definitely due to hit a little bit of a bad spot. Now back to social media. As I'm hearing you guys talk, it dawns on me that I liken Reddit and any social media where the fans can hang out and do their thing. To me, social media like Reddit is what if talk radio played every single phone call they got. That's what you would get on social media. That's
what it
is. That's
pretty much
unfiltered stuff that nobody vets and there's no filtering. Now the Rams, I don't know, the Rams after the year after they won the Super Bowl in 2022 went 5-12. The same genius coach, the same Hall of Fame quarterback, and a lot of the same people that came back from the 2021 team that won the whole thing. They won 5-12. Now I don't know. I don't have it in front of me to know exactly why they won 5-12, but that's a big drop off. It happens sometimes in the NFL. Then they went right back to winning again. They win, 10, 11 wins, whatever, and they're right back. Now here they are in 2025, once again, potential Super Bowl participant. So it can happen. The Eagles a couple of years ago, they went down the tubes in the second half of the season. They looked unbeatable in 2023 at the beginning of the year. Then the defense took a shitter, and they went down the tubes in 2023. And so, and like Al says, it's still they probably will win 10 games. 10 may not be enough to get in. He's right. to get into the playoffs. But they're still a good team, and they still have the ability to come back in 2026, retool, and be, it's not a bottoming out scenario by any stretch of the imagination. Good teams good organizations, I should say, have off years. The Dolphins in 1976 were 6-8. It was like, if you look at the Dolphins in the 70s, of course, they had those great teams early in the decade, and then really good teams. And then 76, they won 6-8. I don't know why. They just did. I don't know. I don't know if they had injuries or what happened. They had same coach, same quarterback, a lot of things. They didn't have Zonka. I'm sure they lost some pieces, but they went 6-8. Then they bounced right back and became winners again. It happens. It happens in the NFL. That's why it's so amazing when teams like the Chiefs and the Bills and some of these other organizations can consistently win, in double digits and consistently compete for Super Bowls. That's hard to do. So, but there's a lot of things stacked up against the Lions. You mentioned people having bad years and so forth. I think Dan Campbell's having a bad year, quite frankly.
Yeah.
The fourth down decisions, the clock man. We're starting to see some of the Dan Campbell 2021 stuff surface. And Nick made a good point about teams getting to know your offense. And teams are also starting to get to know the fourth down thing too. And the fourth down thing lately, I think they're like 1 out of the last 11 or something like that. It's costing them games. It's costing them points. It's costing them field position. It's costing them not only points that they could be getting, but points that they're in turn giving up. And so some of these swings are 6 to 10 point swings on the scoreboard when you combine the points that the Lions didn't take and the points that the other team got because they went for it on fourth down and failed. And the fourth down play calls lately and the execution on fourth down has been miserable. Drop passes, weird play calls, inaccurate throws, you name it. It's been bad blocking. It's just been bad. And so
in some of these plays, like the fourth down play where Goff, it might have been a touchdown if it was a good pass, or if Jameson Williams catches the damn ball.
Right.
And Goff even said, "I made a bad throw. The play was there." And Jameson Williams says, "I need to catch that ball. It hit me in the hands."
Right.
So that one's not so much on Dan Campbell, but it's on the execution. But it starts to add up, like you say.
Well, here's the thing, though, Al. If the execution is something that they're struggling with, then you would think that maybe that would lend itself to making the decision to sometimes kick the field goal or punt, or whatever you have to do in that scenario to just live for another day, live to fight another day. And it's similar to when a quarterback throws the ball away to avoid a sack. It's the same. It's the same kind of premise. Let's live for another day. Let's live for another down. I know he hates to punt. I know he hates to kick field goals sometimes, but sometimes that's what you got to do. It's just because you do what normally should be done doesn't mean you've made the whole novelty thing of we're the Lions and this is what we do and this is who we are. Okay, but you can just take that too far. And I know that we've all seen and been burned by Dan Campbell going for it on fourth down. It happened in the NFC Championship game. It's happened a lot of times where he should have taken the points. He should have punted, whatever the case may be. It seems like every button that he's pushed this year most of them have been the wrong button. And it's cost them. It's not just, that's just Campbell. It's cost them games. It really has. Yeah. Again, these point swings, it happened against the Eagles. It happened against the Giants, even though they pulled that one out. It happened against Green Bay. It's happened a lot where it hasn't been there. It happened against the Chiefs. It just has where they didn't get it. And it cost them. And it cost them field position but cost them football games, really. So I think Dan Campbell's he's still I don't know what it is about that. He's got to somehow reel himself in on some of these calls and just do what's right.
Well, here's the other thing too is not reading this. I'm thinking he's not reading the situation either.
Right.
It's like Al was mentioning execution. The execution has been shit on just regular plays, but then he puts in, the trick plays. Mm-hmm. It's like that takes impeccable execution.
Goff dropped one against the Packers.
Yeah, that probably would have been a touchdown as well.
Well, there was also one where Montgomery was behind center or something, and then he threw one to the the fourth, fifth string tight end or something on some play, and the guy just like that receiver, whoever the hell he was, I don't remember his name. I don't think I've ever heard of him, but he just like was surprised that this thing came to him. It's like it's not like you're throwing to Laporta anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. They don't have Laporta or Brock Wright right now, and both those guys have made plays in the past. And that's a great point, that you're trying to run plays with talent that isn't the same when those plays are successful. That's a good point.
No, and then I think there was another series where it was first down, and it seemed like they had like three of the exact same running play over and over again, like in a row. And with Gibbs, he just like ran into the big pile in the middle. Like there was nowhere for him to go. And I think he lost yards or gained nothing on 3 successive plays. It's like, it didn't work once. It didn't work twice. I know, let's do it again. Yeah. Is that some kind of like oddball trick play? It's like that was a same old Lions kind of tactic. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. Do you think that with Campbell now calling plays, since Morton has been demoted, but he's taken that away from him, do you think he's now got too much on his plate and it's costing him when it comes in game management?
I think that's part of it. I do think whatever their playbook is on offense is now people know the way Campbell thinks, and they prepare for him much better than they used to, and they're not surprised by him. Some of these, going for it on fourth down all the time was very unconventional. But okay, Dan Campbell's going to go for it on fourth down. And in the past too, he had to go for it on fourth down because his kickers sucked. Right.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, free Jake Bates.
He had no choice.
Yeah,
his kicker could barely do like an extra point, like whatever that guy's name was, Monkey Badger or whatever it is. And
Monkey Badger.
But he had no choice to do that, but at the same time, he has a kicker that has range. The guy hit a 59-yarder just a couple games ago.
Right.
59-yarder at that, yeah.
So, he could get points. I think their offense is stale, and then also the execution has been crap.
Yeah.
Goff has been off, missing receivers. Usually the receivers don't drop passes, but even Amon St. Brown was dropping passes.
Right.
Yeah, that's something there. We never saw Amon Ra drop passes ever.
Most of the time I'm like, how the fuck did he catch that? Like, it was like threading a needle, but no, he was dropping passes too. So that throws everybody's rhythm off.
And the pass protection has been suspect at best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially he's getting pressure right up the middle, which never happened.
Yeah,
the last 2-3 years, and that's a huge issue because he can't step up in the pocket.
Right.
And we know how he's not exactly the most mobile quarterback in the world either. So yeah, we're making some good points. Maybe we do know more. I would never ever go there, but yeah, it's when it's becoming visible to the fan base that there are issues that need to be corrected. I think a lot of these issues will not be able to be fixed till the offseason. That's the way that's the way of the NFL. You can't fix these things mid-season. And I think the Lions were hoping they were going to be able to, which that's my way of making a segue into that Frank Ragnow wanted to come back out of retirement, which would have been a huge deal. But then it turned out he had a torn hamstring, a grade 3 hamstring tear, and that pretty much shot down any idea of him coming out of retirement. As the way it looks, he's probably done. Period now. But that was like a whole one day of, oh my God, Ragnall's coming back, to what the hell just happened here. And from what I've read, though, there wasn't really a lot that the Lions could do because Ragnall had to declare if he was going to remain retired. Right. That was the last day he could do it.
Right.
And he did, and it hit the transaction wire. It wasn't the Lions that announced it. It was the transaction wire that first broke this news. He pulled his retirement. So then apparently a routine physical, and we know from history that Frank Ragnow could probably play through goddamn near anything. The guy played with a broken throat. He played with a foot that he could barely walk on for most of his career. And when he goes in for his physical, it turns out he's got a torn up hamstring. Yeah, he probably just thought it was a tweak and he was limping on the damn thing. But this is just one of those things where it's not the Lions' fault. It's not really Ragnow's fault. It was just shit happens. But unfortunately, you see a lot of people blaming the Lions for this, but I don't think there was a lot of blame to go around. It was just something that their hopes got up and then they got dashed, and then people reacted in the worst way.
Well, I think what happened with this Ragnow thing is that, first of all, it's right on par with how the season has gone, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I think people, it may not be anybody's fault. You might, I mean, you're right about that. You know, it's really hard to lay blame really anyone's doorstep. Mm-hmm. But what it does do is it brings back creepy feelings of same old Lions luck or same old Lions whatever. It's a very same old Lions thing to have a guy announce he's coming out of retirement, and then 24 to 36 hours later he
fails the physical.
that is same old Lions. That's what gets. I think that's what gets people is that there's a lot of people in this town who've got PTSD about the Lions, and rightfully so.
Even we still have some of that. You're right.
No one wants to go back to those days. I believe me. So when something like this happens with Ragnow, where the emotions go from so high to so low in such a short period of time, sandwiched around a loss to the Packers on Thanksgiving, it really puts people in. It gets them spiraling back into that mode of here we go again. You know, we're never going to win a Super Bowl. The team is cursed. Blah blah blah. So it may not be anybody's fault. I don't think it's a fault thing. I think it's just that it's another example of things that happen with this franchise that just gives you the creeps. And I've said it before to you guys via text, and I've said it on Reddit. That 2023 NFC Championship game, you know, they always say that time heals. Okay, time heals all wounds. But to me, it seems like the more time that goes by with that thing, past that game, the worse it gets. It almost is like it's working in reverse. It was like you were in shock and it sucked. But as you get deeper into this, past it, it's not getting any better. It's getting worse. Why? Because you're looking at that as the opportunity that may have been the opportunity for this franchise to make it to the Super Bowl, and they may never get another chance that good again. You're leading 17 points at halftime of the NFC Championship. I don't care where you're playing. You're winning by 17 points, and you lose that. I love it that they want to come back and say that's going to motivate us. That's what they said before the 2024 season. Yeah. They went out and racked up 15 wins. Great. Then they get blown out in the first round of the playoffs. Then they said they were going to use that as a motivation. And I wrote about that in training camp. Well, now this is the new motivation thing. We don't, we have a bad taste in our mouth because we lost in the first round. How many more bad tastes in your mouth are you going to use to motivate yourself for something that means it just, the further that game gets in the rearview mirror, the worse it looks, because it's just, it's missing out on an opportunity that time doesn't heal. That time may heal grief. It may heal wounds, physical wounds. It doesn't heal that. It doesn't. The further that thing gets in the rearview mirror, it's not like we're going to be looking back on this 10 years from now and say, "Oh, I'm recovered from that now." Yeah, I'm past that. That game is going to be. I told you guys it was just the same thing with the Tigers. If the Tigers ended up blowing the division and not make they did blow the division, but they didn't make the playoffs. I said that they didn't make the playoffs at all. That would haunt the franchise forever. Well, they did make the playoffs. That's true. This Lions thing a couple of years ago, I'm telling you, that game is gonna haunt this fan base and these players for years, because I don't know that. That situation.
And remember what Dan Campbell said after that game?
He said it.
We may never get back here again.
That's right.
Yeah, he was brutally honest, and those words are coming back.
And it's very true. It's like, I think with the exception of the Bad Boys Pistons, anytime a team comes close and loses in a championship, they're like, we're just, like one little move,
that's a good point.
Away. They are not back there the next year.
You are. That's a very, very, very astute observation. That is, you're dead on. if you look back, and I'm just mentally doing a real quick history check in my head. Look, Nick's right. Look at the Bengals. Look at the Bengals. Yeah. A lot of the Super Bowl losers fall into the category that he's talking about. But it's not even just football.
The Falcons.
Right. It's not just football. It's all sports. And Nick's 100% right. Very often, very rarely, I should say, will a team make it to the finals. The Penguins are an example of the other way. They made it to the finals in 2008, lost, and then came back the next year and won Game 7 in Detroit. But that's the exception. The rule is what he's saying, which is most of these teams, when they get this close, either you never hear from them again, or it takes a long time for them to get back. And the Bad Boys are a perfect example of that, of that flipping that script, because they came so close in '87 with the Celtics, came so close in '88 with the Lakers, and then won the next 2 championships. That is stick-to-itiveness, and that shows how mentally tough those guys were. Those Bad Boys were.
Yeah, and then look at the if you're talking about this, look at the polar opposite, where you had the going to work Pistons,
right,
who won it all in 2024, and they could never get back over that hump. No, they made it to the finals the next year, blew it in 7 games, and they got to the conference finals 4 more years in a row, and couldn't get past that hump.
Right.
Again, except people thought, we've won one, this team's bound to win another one, and it didn't happen.
Right.
And then if you're a fan, let me add that one to the going to work Pistons. So they, made it to the conference finals 3 years in a row while not getting past that barrier.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, that whole team and organization fell apart, and it's been shit for 15 years.
Right.
No more until just now.
Right. Right.
And it goes back to another conversation we had earlier this year. It's like when you're inching towards being like championship caliber, you go for it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you wait? Like the Red Wings aren't even close to any of that. They're just garbage. But the Tigers arguably had opportunities to go for it. And the only thing the front office did was say, well, we're not going to rush. We don't want to trade our young guys. Fuck the young guys. Trade them.
Right.
Go for it. You got a pitcher that's, a world beater. You have some talent, but you need something extra. Figure out how to get that so you can get over the hump, because it does not necessarily come back. If they lose Skubal, there's no guarantee they're going to have even a decent pitcher to replace him.
Right.
Let alone someone Cy Young caliber.
Right.
So,
that kind of leads us to, you can talk about the current Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
Just had a 13-game winning streak. Lost that their week was so bad because they also lost 2 in a row, including, don't get me going, in the NBA Cup, but they got knocked out of the NBA Cup, even though I'm not even sure exactly how that all works. But regardless of all that, they are a team that looks like they, at the very worst, are a top 4 team in the East, maybe even a top 1 or top 2 team. Do they go for it? Because they are ahead of schedule. And they have like a legit MVP candidate. They have a franchise player in Cade Cunningham, and they do seem to have a lot of solid NBA level role players who fit around him pretty darn well right now. But they do seem to be missing that one extra piece. They, like most NBA title winners or teams that compete for titles, have a true Batman, or have a Batman and a Robin, or they have a couple of superstars. The Pistons have one superstar, and then they have guys they don't know if they'll ever reach that level. Duran is stepping up his game, but I don't think you can call an in-the-paint center the type of guy that doesn't, he's not a stretch 5. That's what you need in today's game. Do the Pistons make that kind of move and maybe end up trading an Ivy and a Harris and some draft picks to get that guy to maybe help take the load off of Cunningham? Because you can tell Cunningham, his usage is off the charts. That guy's playing 35, 40 minutes a game right now. That's going to add up over a season. And they could really use, because they're hitting that point now where they have to make a decision where, do we go for it? And Nick's making a great point, is that if you're to get to that level where you're number 1 in the East, you go for it. But is that something you think the Pistons are willing to do, and maybe make some decisions about some players that maybe they're not ready to make decisions on, specifically Jaden Ivey?
Well, I hate to go back to the Lions, but I'm going to do it just briefly because we were talking about, one of you guys mentioned about how they're starting to drag Brad Holmes on social media and so forth. And but I think a fair criticism of Holmes, though, because they often like to compare Holmes to how was it Roseman? What's his name over there in Philadelphia? The GM of Philadelphia, Howie, whatever his name is.
Yeah, I think it's Rosenbaum, I believe, but Howie. They always call him Howie. Yeah.
He's always trying to go for it. I mean, he's aggressive. Look at the Packers. We all kind of, didn't laugh at the Micah Parsons thing, but we didn't take it seriously. We said, well, okay.
And he's been a difference maker for them. He has.
All right, whatever. Good for you guys. You saw what Parsons did on Thanksgiving, and you've seen what he's done all year. They picked him up at the tail end of just before the regular season began. The fair criticism of Holmes is that he relies too much on drafts and development and not as much on free agency and trades. And for 2 years now in a row, he has done what Nick has said Scott Harris has done, which is sit on his hands. Harris with the Tigers, they were the best team in baseball, or one of the best teams in baseball at the All-Star break. And certainly at the trading deadline, they were in the top 2 or 3 record-wise in baseball. Yeah. That was the time to go for it. Yes, they were ahead of schedule, blah, blah, blah. They didn't go for it. Now, the Mariners did. The Mariners went out and got Naylor. The Mariners went out and got Suarez. Now, you can say all you want about how Suarez wasn't very good. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good he was or wasn't. It's that they went out and got those guys. And Naylor was great in the second half of the season.
Yeah. And he stayed. He signed a new contract.
He killed the Tigers. He was always making a defensive play or always getting a base hit or something in that series. He was a very annoying player in that series. It wasn't so much Suarez, and it wasn't even so much Raleigh. It was Naylor. There was.
I would say Naylor would have fit in great with the Tigers lineup.
Yeah. So
they needed a guy like that.
So that's the criticism. Is when you get to that point, like Nick was saying, about are you going to go for it or not? And that's the fair criticism of Holmes. He's not really been very aggressive. People are comparing his pass rush dilemma to Dave Dombrowski's bullpen dilemma. Now, at least Dombrowski, though, to defend him, it wasn't like Dave didn't try. I mean, he went out and got Joe Nathan. He got he traded and signed a bunch of guys. They just didn't work out. It wasn't really, I don't think, for a lack of trying. Holmes tends to think we're okay. We're good. Everything's okay. We've got guys.
Those 2 words are coming to bite him in the ass.
We got dogs on our roster, whatever. Which is another way of saying we don't have very much talent, but we're going to try real hard. Well, look at what the Eagles do every year. They go for it. Look what the Packers did with Parsons. They went for it. Have the Lions? When's the last time the Lions pulled off a trade or got somebody outside the org? I know their drafting has been very good, but when was the last time they went out and got a player from outside the organization who was a plug and play? Now you could say Montgomery. That's fair.
He was a free agent.
Right.
Yeah.
But, that was a good move. They essentially swapped Jamal Williams for Montgomery. Great move. I'll give him props for that. But defensively, what have they done? What have they done on the defensive side of the ball that has been something that makes you go, whoa, wow, they're serious. They really haven't done anything other than draft.
Yeah. Well, don't get going on Marcus Davenport.
Right.
That's been the guy they've been hoping would be the bookend guy, and he can't stay healthy. And second, and they go, we'll give him one more chance. And guess what? He got hurt, and he's missed almost the entire season. Even though I think he's supposed to come back this week or next week. But you're right.
I will argue this. He was smart enough to try something last year in getting Zadarius Smith, and he was smart enough this year in not resigning Zadarius Smith.
That's fair. That's fair.
But you're right. There was a little bit of stubbornness. It's like, okay, that line needs something. And you're right. Davenport can't stay healthy for more than half a game.
Yeah.
or something ridiculously short. So it's it's not very helpful if he's on the IR. And
okay, then that leads us to, if you're the Pistons, do you go for it?
I will. Here's my comment with any trade or any kind of acquisition. If you think it makes you better, do it.
Yeah.
Don't make a trade just to say we made a trade to go for it, to be honest. But legitimately try and make yourselves better, try and get somebody. And if it costs you something, it costs you something. There was a video of Dave Dombrowski talking about his approach on, going for it, when to trade somebody, when not to trade somebody. He's like, look, prospects, most of them don't make it.
Right.
Trading that, in certain cases, you don't trade your prospect. He goes, like Verlander, people were asking about Verlander, willing to pay a high price for him. And that's where Dombrowski said, no way.
Yeah.
But, he traded a bunch of prospects for Miguel Cabrera. Look how that turned out.
Right.
Yeah.
It means
Greg and I have gone on that for years. Look at all the trades where you trade prospects for a legit major leaguer. How many times does the team get into prospects win the trade? It doesn't happen very often. Yeah.
It's very, very rare. There's one in the Tigers' history that I can remember people bring up. It's John Smoltz. Well,
right.
That's an anomaly, and plus he wouldn't have been John Smoltz on that Tigers team in the 90s.
Right.
Right.
So
that's true.
But and I was thinking about this with the Pistons. They got also a very young team, and so it's going to take a little time to know what you really have. So with them, it's like I don't think they should be in a hurry to trade. If something actually makes them better and it costs them Tobias Harris, so be it. If it costs them Jaden Ivey, maybe that's a little more of a gamble, but what do you think you're getting in return? And the other thing to think about with the Pistons, though, these guys have a lot of chemistry together.
Yeah.
It's huge, even though a lot of them are young. They're a little, I don't want to say naive in the sense I'm calling them naive only in the sense that they're young and maybe not as experienced as like a vet team, but hell, Duran has 4 years of experience. Cade has 5. Stu has 6. So they're not exactly rookies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we've talked about that before where you look at some of the NBA stars and it takes them 4, 5, 6 years to really become the player we know them to be.
Right.
I mean, you just look at like the stats of say why am I suddenly drawing them?
Steph Curry.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. Exactly.
So,
and speaking of that, the Pistons won again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that, yeah. And but they're a great young team to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just for them to build the chemistry and to get that playoff experience is what they need. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think they do need a Robin to Batman on that team.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm just kind of looking really. What did Ivy do tonight, or did he play? Yeah, he only played 14 minutes tonight, didn't score. See, he's definitely still trying to get his legs underneath him.
I mean, he was gone a year. That's not a short time.
Exactly. It's not surprising, because he's definitely on a minutes restriction. So, but once again, Cade Cunningham played 38 minutes.
They talk about Duran a lot too. Like last year, everybody's like, trade Duran. It's like,
you're right.
21.
We got in this case on this podcast for his defense. Yeah.
He's a kid.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So,
yeah, right. He's like, what, 21, 22?
I think he just turned 22 this past month.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you, nuts?
Yeah.
He's way young. I've seen, in the NBA, there's a lot of teams that will trade for, and I've talked to you guys about this. There's these certain superstars, ex-MVP players that seem to get traded for all the time, and it never goes well.
Yeah.
Like James Harden. There's no team that he's been traded to that's been better because of him. Russell Westbrook is grasping for straws to latch onto a team.
Yeah.
It's so bad he's with the Kings.
And
then there are a few of these other guys that just seem to float around. They do help their team, but are they do you go for those guys?
Or I would say we mentioned the made up rumors of Anthony Davis. Do you really want a guy who's never proven to stay healthy? He always seems, he's a guy that you're lucky if you're going to get 50, 60 games out of a year. So a lot of this, exactly. There's this line where there's this as they say, the best ability is availability, for example. And
Right.
and so there's between that and these guys who put up numbers but aren't winning players, it's like, who do you trade for? I mean, who is the guy that makes that kind of a difference? And that's a tough decision to make. Like I said, I would stay away from guys like Westbrook or Harden or his ilk with a 10-foot pole. You're right.
And but there are like other. If you look at the Oklahoma, I mean, they're probably the model of how you would build a team.
Yeah,
they were, and I think that's what Troy Weaver was trying to do, but he was kind of incompetent at it.
Yeah, he could do one thing: draft. That was about it.
He had some eye for scouting and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's about all. And Boston built a good team. And they didn't go for any of these old guys. I think Kyrie Irving was on there, and that didn't help, so they got rid of him. Mm-hmm. So he's one of these that floats around from team to team as well. And but so I mean, going back to your thing, do you trade for him? Do you trade or acquire somebody else for the Pistons to get over the humps? Like, I think it depends on who, really.
Yeah.
I don't think you should go for an Anthony Davis just because it's Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, the Detroit Pistons traded for Allen Iverson because he was Allen Iverson. Look how well that turned out.
Well, it might be that this is the year that the Pistons could get away with not making a move because the East has been depleted by injuries. And, Halliburton's not with Indiana. Tatum's
out. Yep.
Celtics. The power shift, the power balance is, I mean, the Knicks are still a good team, of course. The power balance in the East is a little bit different than it's been in the past. So the Pistons may be able to get through this season without having to do something that drastic in order to make it deep into the playoffs. I'm not saying they win the championship, but they could win a couple of rounds with the roster that they have now. I mean, they could.
Yeah.
They're 17-4 right now. So I know that's only a quarter of the season, but that's a pretty darn good first quarter of the season. So they might be able to get by with staying pat, not doing anything crazy, maybe making a under the radar move. Like a Schroeder type of a move like they did last year. Not break the bank, not disrupt the whole roster, to kind of hang around and be still a pretty good team in the playoffs. Because the way the East is shaped up this year. Now, if this was the East of last year, then they were still, and the Pistons were in the mix with the East that had Tatum and had Halliburton and all those guys, I'd say, maybe you do something a little drastic, maybe. But I think most NBA observers this year, heading into this season, of course, before they knew the Pistons were going to be 17-4, thought that this was the year to just stay put, not do anything crazy. You're a little bit ahead of schedule. That's okay. Don't go crazy. Don't turn into some of these other teams who've tried to forced it a little bit, and they've ended up taking a couple of steps backward because it didn't work. It's a touchy thing, of course, for Trajan to have to figure out. So far, his under the radar stuff has worked for the most part. They haven't missed Beasley at all. That was the whole thing. Oh my God, what are we going to do without Beasley? They haven't missed Tim Hardaway Jr. at all, really, so far.
Right.
Duncan Robinson has come in and played well. Karis LeVert has played well in limited minutes. Obviously, you mentioned Duran has made a huge leap.
And Dennis Jenkins has come out of nowhere.
Nobody saw Dennis Jenkins doing this. That's another thing. We don't know how sustainable it is.
Yeah, well, it wasn't tonight. He was 3 of 16, but
that's okay. That's all right.
But he was due for an off game. He helped carry them during that 13-game winning streak.
Yeah. Right. So it's a funny league. You don't know really. Obviously, it's a tough go, but I think that they have the pieces. And Nick was mentioning some of the mileage on some of these tires. Even though these players are young, they're not rookies, like he said. Anywhere from 3 to 6 years of experience in the NBA, all with the Pistons, by the way, is really a good start. It's a good to have 3 or 4 or 5 guys like that have been. He mentioned the chemistry. Nick did. That's true. I know they pass around this championship belt thing after every game. They give everybody a belt, kind of like a game ball in football. they pass this belt around at the end of every win. You know, I've seen some of those videos in the locker room where I think Tobias got it the other night. You know, here's Karis LeVert, who got it the night before, gives it to the next guy, and it's Tobias, and Tobias tonight will give it to somebody else. And so they've got that going on. JB's proving to be a pretty good coach. They seem to like him, which means all the thing in the world in the NBA. It's a players' league, as you guys know. So I think they can make some noise without going crazy, making some sort of drastic, crazy move that might disrupt everything.
Yeah, and that's the fear. You're right. It's the chemistry, and that seems to be a history with good Pistons teams.
Yeah,
is that they're always greater than the sum of the parts, and this team is leaning in that direction again. And I do like when you see online. Here we go. This is what I see on social media occasionally. Is that the NBA is a better place when the Pistons are good. I mean, they say what you will about the Pistons, but they are thanks to their 3 titles and their runs, like the bad boy run and the going to work era. I mean, that's a lot of very good basketball, some great players, and they are an upper tier franchise historically, at least over the past 40 years. So I'm actually enjoying the NBA again because the Pistons are an enjoyable team to watch. And I think a lot of people, but then again, I'm also getting the feeling that right now, what we're seeing with the Pistons is kind of like 22-23 Lions. If you know what I'm saying, that it's all happiness and light right now. They're playing well. The young guys are doing well. JB Bickerstaff has been an amazing coach for this team. Sooner or later, there's going to be some adversity. We'll have to see how they handle it.
I'm thinking with the Pistons, it might be a little different because part of it with the Lions is they were kind of punching up. Yeah. And Dan Campbell was this like great motivator kind of thing. I'm not sure if JB's like that sort of like very
run through a wall for him kind of guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they will back. They trust their coach.
Yeah.
And they know their coach has their back. But I don't think it's just, motivational words. Motivational words have a short lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
Then it just sounds like just the same old dull crap as before. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful with that.
Bum Phillips, I remember one time was talking about halftime speeches, and he says, I can give the greatest speech in the world, he says, at halftime. But he says, you know what? That first time you go out, that guy, one of your players gets the snot kicked out of him. He forgets all about that halftime speech. Bum was a very quirky guy, very, very fun guy. And too bad the NFL doesn't have more coaches like him, by the way. But his point was that, kind of what Nick was saying, those speeches, they do, you're right. They have, and that's just like the fans who always want in a 162 game baseball season, want the manager to kick over the post game spread table and yell at them and rip them a new asshole, like that's going to solve everything, or get thrown out of a game, or
and Jim Leyland famously said that works once or twice, and that's it.
Yeah, you can't keep going to that well. That's for sure.
I mean, it works in like a movie like Bull Durham,
right?
Where
exactly.
Well, they were lollygaggers. Come on.
That's right. And but it doesn't work because you do have to do it 162 times, maybe. If you have a shitty team, right? Like that's right. It's going to be adult pain afterwards. It's not going to be anything else. But going back to like the Pistons, there's an unusual situation because before Bickerstaff came, of course, there was Monty, and of course there was that awful 28-game losing streak.
Right.
Yeah.
And those young guys, this is, a very competitive young team, and they can get into a bad mood about losing, and I think they can self-motivate. But I think that I think Cade was interviewed somewhere, and he was talking about that 28-game losing streak. They got a chip on their shoulder after that one. They're not just going to forget that anytime soon.
Yeah, the way he stood up after every damn game, Monty Williams was nowhere to be seen most of the time. Who was talking to the media? Cade Cunningham during that losing streak. I mean, he really showed him who he was during that losing streak. He did not deserve to go through that, but now that he's been through the valley of death, so to speak, he's come out the other side a better NBA player. And
yeah.
I'm not saying he's to credit that losing streak for that, but I think that showed then that there was something there in Cade Cunningham that we're seeing now. And
if you think about it, who was on that team? Duran was on it. Asar Thompson, that might have been his rookie year, I think.
Yeah.
Ivy was on it.
Yeah.
Stewart was on it. Yeah. Stewart, the poor guy's been through a lot of shitty seasons. My
yes,
God.
Yes.
Oh my God, that poor guy. No wonder he's always in a bad mood, want to punch somebody. Like half the games I used to watch, like a couple of years back, I wanted to punch somebody. Usually it's been Monty Williams, but they have a chip on their shoulder from that. They have a bad taste in their mouth. It's like, motherfucker, I don't want to ever do this again.
Right. Kind of exactly.
I don't think the Lions ever had that after that loss in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
I don't think they had the motivator that maybe it was. Maybe I don't think so though.
Mm-hmm.
You just happen to have a really talented team, and that's why they went 15-2 the following year.
Right.
But they don't have the chip on their shoulders.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of,
it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
So.
Before we start wrapping things up, I guess we should speak about the other team in town who I think need a chip on their shoulder, and that would be the Red Wings. Or on a 4-game losing streak, they're looking more and more. Even though after that hot start, they're looking more and more like a team that is going to struggle to make the playoffs again. Yep. I mean, they look for all the world like a bubble team. Yep. They're looking once again like they have like four or five players who are doing everything, and then no one else is doing a goddamn thing.
Right.
Goaltending has not lived up to expectations, and we're now, in Todd McClellan, they got the coach bounce last year. Now he's seen all the same shit that the previous coaches have seen. So it's starting to look like the Red Wings. It's the same shit, different year.
They're unwatchable. I watched a couple games at the very beginning of the season, but I started seeing it kind of fall apart really fast. I can't watch them. Yeah. Just because of that. Because it's just like these guys are a bunch of wusses. They don't play with any kind of edge. They don't and they talk about, bring in the young guys. Like, my God, these young guys suck. They're not that good.
Yeah.
Other than Sider and Raymond, I don't think
it's essentially it's been Sider, Raymond, Larkin, and Sider, Raymond, Larkin. I'm sorry?
DeBrincat.
And DeBrincat. That's been it. That's been their team. And if those guys aren't producing, they're in for a really bad night.
So
guess who won AHL Player of the Week this week?
Kosa?
Yep.
He did?
Yep.
All the more reason to keep him down there, right?
Right. Right.
But for all because the goaltending has sucked. Sooner or later, you just got to bring the kid up and see what the hell he can do.
Right.
How long has he been percolating in the between juniors and the minors at this point? Seems like it's been
4 years, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And I know goalies tend to bloom later, but sooner or later, you got to see what you got in your number 1 draft pick.
And it's not like they're getting something out of what they have.
Right, exactly.
So.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was a bad week. All right, we're kind of pushed it. We're trying to wrap this up after about 90 minutes, and we're almost at that point now. We're about that point. So anything else we need to cover before we do our fun stuff like our jerk of the week and all that kind of thing? Or is there anything else we've missed?
Well, I'm sure there's something we've missed, but we're
well, let me ask you this. I'll ask you one thing before we get our jerk of the week. Michigan State hiring Pat Fitzgerald despite that guy's history. A school that's had scandal after scandal. currently on probation now for violations. This is after, and this is a lot of this happened during the Mel Tucker era. And then the Jonathan Smith, who they got from the West Coast at Oregon State, looked like he didn't even want to be there, even though, it was just a bad mix. It was just a bad match from the get-go. And now they hire, it looks like they hired Pat Fitzgerald without a coaching search at all. They fired Smith in the afternoon, and by that evening, it was pretty much known that Fitzgerald was going to get the job.
Right.
And he's been, at best, you look at his record, I think he's 10 games over 500, and how many years he coached at Northwestern, even though Northwestern is not a place where you go to win a lot of games, but he's also an old school coach who's never really coached in an NIL transfer portal era, who also either condoned the hazing that was going on in his locker room, or he didn't know about it, which is just as bad. And that's what Northwestern ultimately came up with.
Right.
Is this really who you want to coach your team? And it's Michigan State seems like they could have done better. I mean, we talked about it. I mean, there had to have been a group of 6 coach or a Power 4 coordinator who would have been a good fit for them, but they had to go get Pat Fitzgerald, it's not even his last 2 years at Northwestern. I think he went like 3-9 and 1-11. So it's and you see the Spartan fans like, yes, this is the guy we want. And I'm like, really? This is what you want? I don't know about that. I really, really don't.
I think like some of the coaches that got rehired recently, I would think the same thing. Like James Franklin, you're really excited about getting James Franklin?
Well, if you're from Virginia Tech, you might be, because they'd be thrilled with 9-win seasons.
Well, then you would argue that the same thing goes with the Spartans at this point. They've had a few really the poor Spartan fans had nothing to root for the last.
They want another D'Antonio, and I don't know if they'll ever be able to replicate what he was able to do there.
So,
and it kind of feels like Fitzgerald is kind of like a Timo D'Antonio in a way, and that. He like I said, he raises the floor, but does he raise the ceiling? Probably not. Anyway, with that, I think it's time for a jerk of the week. What do you think?
I think it's that time.
All right. Nick, you get to go first. Who's your jerk of the week?
All right. I'm going to go with something. It's a little obscure. There's like so many things I could pick on that we've all heard about and talked about. But I'm going to pick one thing that actually kind of bothered me, and it was like something someone posted on social media. Of course, and this is posted about Kelvin Shepard, who's the defensive coordinator for the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all right, when you're losing, people kind of bitch, fire the this, fire the that, or
right.
There's a lot of that. There was one post that I saw, and I think this is wrong on so many levels. The person called Kelvin Shepard a thug. They said Dan Campbell, a ghetto thug. So it was pretty ugly.
I think I saw that. I think I did see that post. Yeah.
You know where they're going with that. And where Dan Campbell could have picked a capable coach, but he picked this guy. He was a minority hire. And I say to the person who posted that, and anybody who thinks of that, it's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
There are a lot of capable coaches. Not every game's going to be a winner. A very good coach can lose a game. Sorry, his defense might have struggled one day. So what? Like that goes, beyond being frustrated by a decision the coach made, by, why did he make this decision? Why not that? You could do all that, but that gets really personal. And then layer in the part that just the fact that Kelvin Shepard is black, that's wrong on so many levels.
Yeah.
That's a really, really shitty thing to say. And so my jerk of the week is this person. I don't remember even what this their handle was. It got cut off, but it was some Detroit sports fan. And it's like that, if you talk about somebody like that and you attack him for that kind of thing, not his decision, maybe not his ideas, but personally like that, that's a real piece of shit. So it goes beyond being a jerk. So.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Well said. And what are the odds he lost a bet? We've seen a lot of that, too. So.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff does come after losing bets. You're right. That's
true.
Yeah.
That guy probably lost more than a bet. He probably lost girlfriends, wives.
Yeah, no kidding there. Well said. All right. Greg, who's your jerk?
Yeah, mine is a little bit obtuse because it's not really any one specific thing. But to me, my jerk of the week is the Michigan-Ohio State football rivalry. And the reason I say that is it seems to me the last several years to have taken on a dark, it was always a big rivalry. Al and I grew up in the 70s where it was, Bo versus Woody and the
10-year war. Yep.
Right. But there was a certain, I don't want to say playfulness about it, but there was a wink kind of an aspect to it. Yes, they were big rivals. Yes, Woody would say some things. I'm not going to ever buy gas in Michigan. Those kind of things. The bumper stickers that we all saw. Woody is a pecker and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But it seems like the conduct of the players on the field during those years, and even going into the 80s, and even going as far as like when Charles Woodson played for Michigan, those days, it seems like the conduct of the players on the field was better than what I've been seeing the last several years. And part of this is college football in general, but I saw some more ugliness in the game Saturday. There was a I don't remember which Michigan player did it, headbutted an official, which frankly he should have been out of the game.
I couldn't believe he wasn't ejected. Yeah,
just flat out kicked out instead of unsportsmanlike. That's his first. Like he gets another headbutt. He gets to do it again before he gets ejected. The whole planting flags on people's fields, and Michigan didn't leave the stadium, the field, I should say. They didn't leave the field for many, many, many minutes after the game ended.
We have to protect this. They don't want the flag thing. Yes, exactly.
Some of this stuff is to me is goes beyond just it's a. I'm not gonna call it a friendly rivalry. It's not friendly, but goes beyond rivalry, college rivalry. I can say pro rivalries are different. Avalanche, Red Wings, all no holds barred there. But for something, and I still think there should be a shred of, even though it's college football has been bastardized by money, I still think there should be a shred of respect that I feel like the rivalry has gotten dark in a way. Yeah. And has nothing to do with the coaches. I don't think that Ryan Day or Moore or before him, Harbaugh, I don't think played into that much.
Yeah.
Although you could be a cynic and say they did behind the scenes, but the conduct of the players, and I know I'm kind of speaking very ethereally here because I don't have any a lot of specific examples, but I just noticed the last several years it's just taken on a different, darker tone, where the rivalry's become just a little bit edgy for me, and maybe I could be in the minority. Maybe a lot of people love that kind of stuff. They think it's, it maybe makes the rivalry better even. But to me, I don't think the rivalry is as fun now as it used to be, because I think back to those games in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I don't recall, Alan, maybe you unless I'm forgetting. Aside from Woody, acting out himself, I don't recall the players going after each other on the field in those games at all. And those were some heated games that often decided the Big Ten title. And I don't recall the players losing their tempers, hitting officials, hitting each other. The after the whistle, I saw a lot of after the whistle stuff on Saturday. And some people will say, you're all wet because that's just what makes a rivalry great. I don't know that makes a rivalry any better. I feel like a rivalry should stand on its own accord. It should stand on the talent, the skills of the players. It should stand on the history. You don't need to inject, berating officials. You don't need to inject after whistle, pushing and shoving to make a rivalry better, to me. And I just feel like the last few years, the Michigan-Ohio State football game there's been a darkness to it that I don't like.
Yeah, I think it's a lack of respect. That'd be a good way to put it. Yeah,
my guess is
the same way.
My guess is in the 70s, the players were afraid of Bo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they're afraid of Moore at all.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I think the flag thing was kind of like, it's kind of stupid more than anything else to me. And
yeah, I agree.
I think I've heard that Ryan Day put the kibosh on his players planting a flag.
Yeah, they went and celebrated with the fans. Yeah. And
says, you're not doing that. You're
all the Michigan players standing at midfield protecting the M. Like, what the hell? They would have looked much better just shaking hands, leaving the field, and be done with it. And try and beat them next year. But yeah,
honestly, they would have been better if they were focusing on a fucking game.
Yeah, yeah. And for that matter, what Greg was talking about, you can say that about college football in general. It just has a much uglier, darker tone now. It's not the same thing it was we grew up with.
No,
but,
I agree.
But I will add this. Woody Hayes in that era did come out with one of my favorite sports quotes ever. I think it was the 68 game where Ohio State won by 50 points or something like that. Yeah, right. And he went for 2 at the end of the game.
Yep.
And then when he was asked after the game, why did you go for 2? Woody Hayes replied, because I couldn't go for 3.
Right.
And that was the rivalry back then. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Nick makes a good point, though. His point is well taken. That back then, the coaches were very strong, high profile, strong presence. They were he's right. You had Bear Bryant in Alabama, Woody Hayes. You can name a bunch of others. Bo, of course. Name a bunch of others. The coaches were almost the faces of the team, not the players.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the coaches. Bear Bryant had that hat, and Woody had his glasses, and Bo had his glasses and his hat, and the headset. They had a look about them, and they were Paterno, of course, another one. And the personalities of the coaches were every bit as strong, if not stronger, than the players. Yeah. So I think Nick's onto something when he says that back then they were afraid. If they took a pot shot at an Ohio State player, I'm sure that Bo would have yanked him right off the field.
Yeah, you're right.
That's not the kind of thing that you see nowadays. That point's well taken.
Right.
But maybe that's part of it. But it's certainly darker now for sure.
Yeah. All right, my jerk of the week. I could go with Lane Kiffin and that whole drama going on in the SEC right now with Ole Miss and LSU and the coaching change and all. It's absolutely bonkers. But I'm going to go with the Big Ten kickoff pregame show they have on Fox, and the fact that they have Dave Portnoy on that damn show. And I'm if you spend time on social media or you spent time. I know, like when Rick and I were heavy in the blogging, I had some interactions with Portnoy back in the day when he was just getting started with Barstool, and he's always been an asshole. And there was one scene, he came on. Fox hired him to be their version of Pat McAfee, but Pat McAfee was a college athlete, played in the NFL, a completely different animal. Say what you will about McAfee, but he's got some cred, even if he can be way over the top and very annoying. All Portnoy is a guy who went to Michigan, basically created a website around bro culture and frat culture, has had a lot of very controversial, misogynistic type things going on around him.
Right.
But what really set me off was watching the pregame show, and there's clips of this online, where he's only 5'4". He's a little guy. And he goes up on screen. I think Charles Woodson and someone else was on screen. He goes up on screen next to them. They're big former football players.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he steps up next to him, and all of a sudden you can see him raise 4 inches. He's got on his tiptoes. And if you look, I bet he has a history of doing that whenever he's on camera or in a picture. He is so insecure about his height and being around big-time athletes. Whenever he's on camera, he gets on his tiptoes. And he steps up to him, and then, whoop, up he goes. I was like, oh, my And I go, that's what Fox thinks they need to bring to their pregame show. And then he tweeted something after the game. He announced, I will not be attending the Big Ten championship game or be there for Fox. Like, so? You won't be missed. And I was like, oh, my God. So, yeah, you can say a lot about the pregame shows that they're not entertaining at all anymore. I really don't enjoy them that much. I don't even pay that much attention to them. The only reason I had it on this time is because it was Michigan, Ohio State. But, yeah, my jerk of the week is Dave Portnoy for being Dave Portnoy. And he's honestly a bad reflection of the University of Michigan. And you ask most Michigan fans, they want nothing to do with the guy.
I never heard of him.
Look him up online. I'll send you that clip. I know where I can find it of Portnoy doing that. But all right, with that, I think it's time to get out of here. So as usual, we're running long. So Greg, if you could get out the thank yous and where they can find us on social media and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Check me out at my Substack, gregeno.substack.com. Please subscribe. I will be in your inbox every Monday. I would appreciate that. Not sure what we're going to do in terms of guests next time. We'll be with you, I think, December, 15th, if we hold service here with the scheduling. So we'll see about that. As usual, thank my lovely wife Sharon for putting up for this nonsense. So follow me on Twitter at Greg Eno, and thank you, gentlemen, for making Monday night so gosh darn fun.
Yes. Nick, tell people where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at Nick Milanovich. It's right there under my name. I'm happy to talk Detroit sports. We don't have to agree, but nothing personal, guys. In the conversations.
Yeah, too many people. Yeah, that's a good point. Too many people take sports way too seriously, and it can be very disturbing, the reactions. I'm sure you guys see it all the time on Twitter. So yeah, be civil. That's all you ask. Why can't we agree to disagree sometimes? All right. As always, I want to thank you guys for putting up with me running this off a tablet today because I didn't have my laptop with me, and being up here and snowed in our 10 inches of snow up here. But I really appreciate you guys making the time to talk sports with me. I want to thank you to all the people who are listening, who are following us online. As always, we would love it if you would like, share, and subscribe to the show. You look up the Knee Jerks podcast and any place podcasts are hosted, such as Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Radio Public. Pretty much any place you can find podcasts, you can find us there. Just do a lookup of the Knee Jerks podcast, the Knee Jerks of Nick and Al, Greg, whatever. You can find us. The website, thekneejerks.net. That way you can find all of the links to our social media that Greg just talked about. You can get the link to Greg's Substack, get the link to the guy's social media. You can download the MP3 straight from there as well, and all the show notes will be there. I think with that, I think that about covers it. And the way things are looking, yes, we will be on schedule. I will be home for all of December, if you can believe it, and probably into January as well. So I think we'll be back on our every 2 weeks schedule. So be ready. We'll have more to talk about. So until that time, 2 weeks from now, this is Al Beaton saying good evening, good luck, and aloha, along with Nick Milanovich.
Good night, everybody.
And, of course, Greg Eno.
Ciao, Italy. We'll see you in 2 weeks.